one of the big stories happening right now, Jim, in the last day or so. And it broke kind of quickly. I saw a report on Twitter that said Toni Storm quit. I saw another one that says she was released, and then I saw it retracted and say, no, she quit. Have you been following the fact that Toni Storm, who has just recently been featured on WWE main roster television after a run in NXT, has reportedly not been released, just quit WWE?
Well, yes, because it just, when I turned on the Twitter machine this very morning, of shocking news. And do you remember the Bugs Bunny cartoon where he just screams, "Get me out of here"? I think some enterprising young video maker out there on the social media ought to do every WWE superstar doing a promo, but all the words you hear is Bugs Bunny going, "Get me out of here." But now they're paying for their own way home to get away from this company. Apparently, the report was that she was on a house show. She was on TV, just working with Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title, Christmas Eve on SmackDown. And then apparently she worked the live event, triple threat match against Sasha and Charlotte. I'm not sure what town that was in. And then this was in the last couple of days, so maybe one of their after Christmas shows. And then, according to, there's 18 million of these various websites and reporters quoted. So basically, the story going around from everybody's mouths is she just worked the triple threat at the house show and then just up and fucking bought her a plane ticket and flew home and said, "Fuck it, I'm done." And it was a surprise to everybody in the office. That's the way we're hearing about it now. That's the last thing that I saw in the way of an update. But then we've been doing some things. Do you have your Google machine on? Have we got any further news?
Yeah, I have a few things here. I have a couple articles from Inside the Ropes, itrwrestling.com, because it appears that these articles kind of summarize everything best. This one is entitled, "Toni Storm reportedly quit WWE, paid for her own flight home after live event." Following the shock news, is that what they say? Not shocking, shock news?
Well, they're across the pond.
Following the shock news.
It's shock news.
That Toni Storm has parted ways with WWE, more information has come to light surrounding Storm's sudden exit. The 26-year-old star built a name for herself in companies like Progress in the UK and Stardom in Japan before beginning her relationship with WWE in 2017. Storm was announced as one of the competitors in that year's Mae Young Classic, with the New Zealander losing in the tournament to Kairi Sane in the semifinals. Let me just stop right there. I guess I thought wrong for a second. I thought she was British. If she's from New Zealand, did she get a plane ticket home to New Zealand?
Goddamn hope she's got an apartment in fucking Des Moines or something. That would be... You know what? You got to want to leave something really bad to say, fuck it, I'm just going to go to New Zealand and pay for it myself right now, rather than show up tomorrow and get paid to do something. I thought she was English also, but New Zealand, even nevertheless, continue.
I'm going to go a little more forward down the article. In July 2021, Storm graduated to the main roster of WWE when she debuted on SmackDown. Storm was recently seen competing in a losing effort against Charlotte Flair for the SmackDown Women's title on the Christmas Eve episode of SmackDown.
So that's not even a week ago.
Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful first reported that Toni Storm was, quote, gone from the company, and has followed up with a possible reason that she has departed, and says it came at Storm's request. Fightful Select, which is their premium service, then reported that Storm had apparently flown herself home following a live event where she had competed in a triple threat match against Sasha Banks and Charlotte Flair. That report also claims that there were those within the company blindsided by Storm's decision to leave. Cassidy Haynes of Bodyslam.net followed up on that report, claiming a source confirmed that Toni Storm had flown herself home out of her own pocket, quoting the source as stating, "Turns out, Toni didn't exactly request her release. She just up and quit. Worked the triple threat at a house show last night, and then paid out of her own pocket to fly herself home. She straight up flew herself home after working the triple threat last night and quit. Took everyone by surprise." And Jim, that's the story up to that point. Any comments before I touch on this other article?
Oh, well, we mentioned we haven't been watching whatever she's been on. I guess she's been on Raw lately just because the show is so abysmal. But this, when we were watching NXT and she was there, I'd mentioned a number of times, she looks like somebody. She looks like a star. She's gorgeous. Seemed like she could work. She had some, I hesitate to say when talking about a female, but she had some meat to her where it wasn't like she was a little schoolgirl that couldn't bend the ropes when she hit them and made a poof noise when she took a bump. She had some attitude. So obviously, if they've been working her against Charlotte for the title, they had some plans for her. So she must have been pissed about something or just miserable in general and had the Popeye moment. I've had all I can stands, I can't stands no more. Is there any update?
There's another article that went up as of today as we are recording, December 30th. Once again from itrwrestling.com. Toni Storm discusses creative frustrations following SmackDown debut. So this is, I guess, not a fresh quote, or let's see. Recently, Storm appeared on the Out of Character podcast, where she offered an insight into the nature of WWE and how being left languishing in catering is not a good feeling. Here's the exact quote. "It's the worst, because you just don't know. Obviously, wrestling can be so unpredictable. Next week you could be main eventing and winning a title, and everything could be happening, or nothing. You don't know. This is show business at the end of the day. It's a topsy-turvy industry. When you're sat in catering, it's not a good feeling. Just sitting there waiting for your shot, waiting for your big break, waiting to show everyone what you've worked your life to be good at. I just sat there, asking, when am I next? What's happening? Now's when stuff starts happening. I'm still like, what's going on? Oh my God, what is my life?" That's the last line there. What is my life?
What is my life?
How many people sit at catering saying, "Oh my God, what is my life?" What a recruiting statement for WWE.
You too can sit in catering equivalent to a 4-star restaurant and say, "What is my life?" And when I was down there for the Hall of Fame, that was the best fucking catering I'd ever seen in my life. As a matter of fact, all of the legends and the Hall of Fame inductees and everything, we were all in catering because we remember when you had to bring a goddamn bag from McDonald's in with you. And then they've got a 4-star restaurant. So it's not all bad, Tony.
Yeah, because you knew how you were going to be used.
Yes.
That's why you didn't have a problem.
We knew, yeah. I'm just, again, you know what? These people, and it's been going on since OVW, but these people work all their lives or much of their adult lives or teenage and adult lives to get to the number one promotion in the world, and they just make them so miserable they'd rather fucking go kick rocks than stay there in some cases. And it's but you know, this is not unusual. It's the wrestling business. What's unusual is normally these days the promotion gets the chance to fire the talent first and publicly, we've released so-and-so and wish them all the best in their future endeavors. And there's the fucking talent there, male or female, with egg on their face or splooge on their lips or whatever. Like, what the fuck? I just got dumped publicly. Because in the old days, they'd fire you, but they wouldn't tell the world they'd fired you. You just go away, right? But now the promotion usually gets the first word. In this case, to old Toni Storm harkened back to the old days of wrestling and just said, fuck it, I'm going home. Think how many times that used to happen in the old days before contracts.
She is a modern day Bruiser Brody.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, anybody from old, Billy Black and Smoky Mountain, never saw him again, turned around, he was gone. Or the time that in Memphis it would happen, because that was a weekly territory and live TV every week. And in the old days, a lot of the territories were like that. So if somebody fucking bailed on a Thursday because they were mad about their check or pissed off about something, you just shot an angle was on Saturday morning on TV with somebody else, and next fucking Tuesday night, there they were. Lawler, one time, I've told a story, took Austin Idol to the airport. They had done Memphis TV on a Saturday morning, and Lawler had Idol booked in Jonesboro, Arkansas that night. But Idol wanted to go home and come back or whatever the fuck, Tuesday, Monday. So Idol said, okay, King, just, take me to the airport so I can change my plane ticket, and I'll go to Jonesboro with you. So Lawler takes him to the fucking airport, and he pulls up the front, lets Idol go in to change his ticket. He's sitting there, half an hour, 45 minutes, finally an hour. He gets out and goes in. Fucking Idol's gone. He got on the plane and went home.
That's why I always love when people say Austin Idol was afraid of planes after the plane crash. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was afraid of not having money after the plane crash.
And then Handsome Jimmy, they bought him the house. Remember that? Jimmy Valiant was so over in Memphis that Lawler and Jarrett got together and made him a deal. If you'll come back and work full time, obviously besides paying you main event money, we'll buy you a house in Memphis. And they bought him he picked out the house. They bought him the house, and they're making the payments on it, right? They didn't pay cash for the whole goddamn thing. And he's there for a while, but then that's when Crockett made him a big deal. And at that time, main event in Mid-Atlantic territory versus main event in Memphis, it was maybe $1,000 or $1,500 a week difference. So one day, fucking Lawler just opened his mailbox, and there was an envelope with the keys to the house from Handsome Jimmy saying, sorry, brother, gotta go. And he left him the keys to the house. They had to turn around and sell the fucking house.
Is that when Crockett made him King James?
I believe it was, yeah.
He went in as a king. Yeah, he took Lawler's gimmick.
Yeah, and he was a heel. And it didn't get over, but he did, and he became a babyface, and they just went with it.
In regards to the Toni Storm situation, what's next from a WWE point of view? I'm not taking their side in any way here, but if she just quit, I mean, what's the contract say about that? We know what it says about them being able to release you whenever you want, whenever they want. What about when you say, you know what? I've had enough. I'm an independent contractor. I quit. We never hear about this. What happens next?
Well, she can stay home all she wants, and she can do clerical work and potentially, if get a job as a lion tamer in a circus, but she can't wrestle anywhere. That's there's the nasty rub. Unless she has,
if she fights it, if she is willing to fight it, that could change very quickly, but no one has had the guts yet to fight that contract.
Well, slow down, cowboy. Unless she has some piece of evidence or information or a complaint that would stand up in court as to why that she either left her employment there, her independent contractor contract, breached her contract, or they just don't want to deal with the bullshit and say, here, go, be free, fly away. It will be interesting because just all things being equal, if somebody had mistreated her in some fashion and she has a valid complaint there and they'd probably just mutually agree quietly to work something out. But if it's just, I didn't like working here, I didn't like wrestling here, I don't know what I'm doing here, what is my life in catering, the court probably will not just accept that, but it could be interesting if at least there was a challenge to these contracts. An independent contractor cannot just say, fuck it, I don't want to do this anymore for these people, and them hold her to whatever the remaining term of her contract is. It'll be interesting to see, because then that should make you an employee. If you cannot ply your trade anywhere else in the world but this one company.
That's what Brock Lesnar fought.
Exactly. And then, of course, he was too valuable to fucking keep on the outside of the kingdom. But So that could be interesting, but right now it sounds like she'd rather just not wrestle than wrestle for them.
One last thing on this topic, but we've seen wrestlers request their releases. We've seen wrestlers now turn down what we assume would be very lucrative deals, although we all know the realities of those deals are that they could end tomorrow at Vince McMahon's whim.
Well, in 90 days.
Yeah, but, tomorrow we can announce that in 90 days, it's them. They get to decide everything. The cards are all theirs. But we've seen wrestlers leave now in different manners. Now we're seeing wrestlers just quit. Does anything at any point cause anyone there to change the way they're doing things? And I can understand and I'm not agreeing with it, if someone says, oh my God, it's just generation. They're just impossible to deal with. They're entitled, this and that. But the reality is, you're going to have to deal with this generation if you're going to want workers. What do you do internally to address this? This is now a big problem. If people are just leaving after a main event and flying home, people don't want to be there who aren't under contract there. I mean, what do you think about this overall problem with WWE and wrestlers wanting to be there and not wanting to be there?
They're not going to change anything about the way that they're dealing with the regular talent. The top guys will always be, to some extent, in the inner circle, protected, have easy access to Vince, get an ear, be listened to, whatever. But for most of the guys, it's not like it's going to change because suddenly Triple H is going to take over, because as we've seen, apparently that's not going to happen. So Vince's chemical imbalance or whatever in his brain that he thinks the product is good. And, the enablers that are going to enable him to continue to think that are going to tell him what you said. Well, it's just this generation, which there's, I'm sure, a lot to that. I'm sure they have to put up with more bitching and moaning and pissing and complaining and just general markishness from this generation, but it's their own fault.
But you have to, yeah.
Well, but it's their own fault because they didn't want a developmental system where people were taught the wrestling business. They wanted a developmental system where people are encouraged to think that they're actors and entertainers. So now they're acting like it. But they're not going to change any of that, not only under Vince, but Nick Khan. Do you think Nick Khan is going to be able to sympathize with or talk to wrestlers in any kind of language that they understand, even though that the wrestlers are not really the wrestlers anymore, that you would be talking to the Bret Harts and the Shawn Michaelses and et cetera of a generation ago? Nick Khan still has no idea of how to talk to wrestlers. He's a business guy. So who's going to be the one talking to the wrestlers? Bruce and Johnny Ace? Well, fuck that. They're the ones doing it now. And either people are getting fired or miserable or flying themselves home in record numbers. So that's the one strong point that Vince always had when he was not even the young, but the young and or middle-aged Vince, the commanding presence Vince, the Vince that never ran out of energy. He talked to the guys. He made them see things his way. Even if they didn't see things his way, he calmed them down. He steered them in the direction. He always had that touch. Vince we've said this many times, could talk anybody into anything, seeing his way about something. And he knew how to talk to the boys. There's nobody else that knows how to talk to the boys that will be in any way honest with the boys that's on the horizon that I see, besides Triple H, who... What's he going to be running by the time that there's anything for anybody else besides Vince to run? So I think they better get used to it. They're making a lot of people miserable because it's just a Holiday on Ice factory, a Broadway play where everybody's in the chorus line and nobody's the star. They're interchangeable now, and it's going to apparently continue that way because it's not like that TV's making any superstars. So this is a mad world cast of interchangeable wrestlers that they're setting up, and the brand is the thing. Hey, here's one more thing. Why do you think that they're fucking trying to find all these athletes who never wanted to be wrestlers. Because then they can tell them everything about the wrestling business and how it is, which is basically what we do here is the wrestling business, and everybody else is fucked. And they won't know any difference.